Hi guys, Richard from AFS. Today I'm joined by my friend Gwen Tutour, and we're gonna have a quick chat around the new gear, the new Dockstarting gear coming out at the AFS.
Yeah, the Enduro 1600 GLT. First, I'm super grateful for the opportunity to help design this foil, and actually, you mentioned the Dockstart foil, but really, as we got into the testing, we just kind of realized it's a very versatile foil that that can do a lot of things. From light wind winging, maybe for riding for heavier riders. Downwinding, we rode it today. Downwinding, it was really fun in minimal conditions. So I think the qualities that we were looking for to make the perfect Dockstart foil, that is also a good foil for people to learn on. Turns out serves a lot of other disciplines.
Absolutely. Yeah, the whole range about the foil is actually what makes a good foil is the range right now. We all agree on that, and you want something that's going to be powerful enough and forgiving in the low end, but also something that's going to be forgiving into the high end also, and that creates this nice glide with a better pumping speed also is a key factor, I think.
Yeah.
If you have a choice between pumping for 5 minutes and doing, I don't know, 1K, or pumping for 5 minutes and doing 200 meters, I'm going to choose the 1K, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So you really look forward to get this this type of efficiency under your feet, for sure.
Yeah. So, what really actually the Enduro, calling it the Enduro to me is pretty perfect because it has a very familiar feeling with the Enduro range. So to me, it's kind of it's an extension of the Enduro line. That's why it's called the Enduro. And it has a lot of the similar qualities. We want a bit more pumping efficiency, so we got it doing that. We kind of move the bumps a little again, really to make it an efficient foil to pump. But Laurent Boudia is known to make foils that turn really well. We have it here. What it does actually for Dockstarting is not only it's going to be very forgiving. When you learn Dockstarting, you jump on your foil and right away maybe you are off balance, and if you have a foil that's very locked in, then you just you end up falling.
Yeah.
Here you can really correct your move really well, ideal for beginners, but also as you progress it's still going to be a really fun foil to ride because you can carve around, do turns. It really has those qualities that we found in the Enduro line.
I agree, totally, yeah. Wanted to talk to you about the two size fuselage that we offer on this foil. They have always their pros and cons, I'd say. The forgiveness of the standard fuselage regarding the low end is actually pretty exceptional. I find that's the best way to get this foil as accessible as it gets. And plus it's gonna boost also the natural glide of the foil. For those guys which are looking for the extra pumping cadence and the extra turning also to make it a bit more spicy, you could obviously use the shorter fuse, but there's also two positions on each side of fuse. So basically you could put the stabilizer backwards or forward on either the standard fuse or the short fuse. So there's actually two stages on each fuselage choice. So,
and I think something that's worth mentioning for anyone that's new to AFS is the difference between the short fuse and the standard fuse is not necessarily the length behind the mast, it's actually moving the front wing further forward. So, in my opinion, you don't really compromise much on the pumping ability when you go to the standard fuse because you still have the same distance behind your mast.
Absolutely.
So it does give it better low end, better glide,
better stability in a way.
Better stability, but you don't really compromise on that pumping.
For sure. And for those guys who are using the standard fuse, you could also actually stage 2 put your stabilizer one step forward anyway. So cadence-wise, pumping-wise, that's going to be one step further again. So plenty of options to tune it the way you like it.
And then of course, really exciting, there is the new Ultra Glide 41 stab, which works perfectly with this foil. It definitely makes it more performance oriented. It's going to make it really a pumping, gliding machine, give it a lot more speed. But if you are getting into Dockstarting, for sure something a bit bigger, like the Cruiser L245, is going to be a lot better for in the learning stages.
Absolutely, and there's also a right in between. There's plenty of stabs actually in the range that would fit the in-between accessibility and performance. The whole HA 40, 43 and even 38 are working great also. For guys will be able to choose and get the feel that they want. Actually, they tune a bit the stabilizers in the range, but I really love this stabilizer. The glide that you get out of it is pretty insane, and I feel it's actually not too inaccessible for a stab that small.
Yeah. So. Something that I actually really appreciate on the design is the fact that the tips on the foil have been more like square, which makes it better when you set your foil down. It's also a bit less scary when you are about to fall on it and you see it coming at you. And it's just like makes it more durable as well. So this is kind of like a nice feature that has been added on, that was not on the Enduro line.
Yeah, regarding the mast, so that's the 80 UHM 80 is a pretty good size, I feel, for duck starting, especially with those big span front wings. You want to be able to do some turns without having the entirety of the foil outside of the water. So 80 is a pretty good size. You could also use 85, depending on the height of the dock that you're using. 75 UHM works also, even though I feel like with those size foils, the stability that you get with a tiny bit more cord makes quite a bit of a difference. Basically, what it does is basically a compromise between glide and stability. The UHM is the glidiest and also the turniest. If you go one step under with the HM, it's going to be a tiny bit less glidey and a tiny bit more stable, tiny bit less turny also, which is quite good for some type of riders actually which are looking for a really stable setup. And one step below again with the HR, that's going to be even a bit more stable and a tiny bit less glidey, but still way glidey enough, because especially at those speed when you're pumping on the Dockstart and stuff like that, the influence on the thickness of the mast is still noticeable, but not huge anymore.
Yeah. You really you might notice more like maybe if you are like downwinding, where you go through a range of speed that's pretty big. You go slow in between like good sections, and then you get a good section, you go fast. So then you start noticing more of that kind of like efficiency that you get from the thinner UHM. But yeah, dog starting, you are pumping, you are not going to really high speeds, you don't really feel much of a difference at all.
The more high performance and the more experience you got, obviously, the more you're going to feel the extra performance of a UHM and small stabs and stuff like that. If you're a beginner, obviously, it's not always worth going full beam on it. But yeah.
Another thing that I'm pretty excited, that looks pretty sweet, is that shiny new bird, kind of like disco style, really fun bird. So new Dockstart bird, that's called the Dockstart. So you're really going to be able to show off at your home spot.
Oh, yes.
Everybody's going to be looking at you. But the good thing is, as everybody looks at you and you are like getting very stressed because everybody's looking at you, and you mess up your start and you bang it on the dock, it's very durable, so you're not going to ding it.
It's full carbon. It's made in our factory in Brittany, same place as where we do all the full carbon front that we got in the range. And yeah, we're pretty proud of this one. The lightness of the whole combo makes it really cool to handle into the dock. You could go for 1,000 Dockstart per day without feeling any pain in your arms and stuff like that.
I mean,
really light.
that's the thing about a Dockstart bird is you really don't need much. So ideally you want to keep it as minimal as possible, as lightweight as possible, so that when you pump, it's pretty much just you and the foil. So you also want it very stiff, so all your input is going straight into your foil. And here we have it with the carbon construction, stiff, light, and really well built. So we have everything we need. And on top of that, it looks good. So now you have everything you need.
Yeah, stiffness is a key component that I think people sometimes don't put enough attention into it. And lightness is key, especially if it's linked with stiffness. So obviously we've got a lot of experience into making sure that we have the right stiffness on the downwind board, for example, obviously on the mast and the fuse and the front wing connections. Yeah. But same work on the bolts. Obviously, there's some stringers, carbon stringers into the bolt to make sure it's going to be thin and stiff and light at the same time. That's the challenge, and I think we made it.
Yeah.
Point, yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about this full setup. It was very, very well needed, and it's finally here. I really can't wait to hear everybody's feedback once you can get your hands on one. So if you have had a chance to try it, always drop your comment, because we do this to help you pick the right setup, and hearing it from everybody is always really positive. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the water.